What if the secret to perfect parenting was admitting that none of us have a clue?
The truth, we're two real moms figuring it out in real time and keeping it real along the way.
Each episode, we're calling BS on perfection and bringing you raw combos with parents and professionals who aren't afraid to go there.
Because what if the real parenting hack was dropping truth bombs instead of pretending like we got it all together? Let's get into it.
All right. There you go. That was the beginning of the episode.
Should I say welcome back to Truth Moms?
Welcome back.
Welcome back to Truth Moms. We actually have recorded a big chunk of the episode that we didn't expect to record. So I'm going to place that right here.
I love it because Courtney always says, like, in the beginning, she's like, do you have any talking points today? I was like, no, I just want to like talk. I feel like when it's just us, it's like, I don't want to have talking. Like, obviously there's going to be times where we're going to want to like ask viewers and like talk about questions and stuff. But sometimes I just like to have like girl chat, and it just, well, plus Taylor. And we walked in just like talking, and then it just ends up, and I feel like that's truly like what Truth Moms is, right? It's like just like you're sitting at a park and you just have random conversations that turn into like an hour. And here we are literally 30 minutes in full on conversation. So like, I don't know if we'll have an hour worth of content. I'm like, oh, I'm sure we will. I can gab.
Yeah.
The gift of gab.
The gift of gab. Yesterday, my mom goes, oh my God, I turned on the TV. I turned on E, and Brittainy was literally on my TV talking about Cyber Monday. I was like, don't tell her that.
No. Wait, why am I back on?
Because she's doing her new show.
Yeah, but I'm not on the show.
Yeah, I'm sure that they're recapping Very Cavallari to promote Honestly.
You're good to go.
You're like, no. Do you really get upset about it?
Yeah, it's a dark spot in my life.
I'm sorry.
I don't like it.
I think it's great. What did you say? I'm sorry.
You're good to go.
Oh, okay, cool.
Oh.
They don't tell you when you're going to be on TV?
Well, no. So we filmed 5 years ago was the last time we filmed a season. So if they rerun it, I have no idea like when it happens. The only way I know it happens is that I start getting a crazy like oh, you got 300 new followers or 400, like it'll up my follower count, which is awesome. But they they literally come for like drama, and then they're like, oh, she's a fucking mom that gardens, and they, so I see it just like go like this,
Right.
But people are just so nosy.
Yeah.
But who I was in that place of my life was just such a different human.
That's true.
Yeah,
Like,
and just to
and
see
it's
that
hard.
pop up.
There was a time
Control.
when I was like so about being a professional that I would like never tell anybody I was from Philly because I always thought people would think that was weird, right? Or I wouldn't tell people I was a Hooters girl because I would think that like I would rather be like I was a Hooters girl and I showed my tits than say I was on Very Cavallari.
Really?
That's how much I loathed it. Not that I showed my tits, but you know what I mean? Like I just was like, oh, I was free and young.
But I thought you presented yourself really well on there.
I was so insecure though, and I think that it's harder for me to relive it because I was in my like late 20s, 30s. So it's less like to say like I was 18, freshly out of college, freshly off a breakup, do whatever I wanted, woohoo, Hooters girl, like felt like I had more forgiveness because I was like, oh, I didn't know what I was getting myself into. Then like I turned 30 and I was like your mindset on a reality show just becomes, it's so toxic.
Yeah.
And it's hard to look back at that human being and be like, because I thought I came out unscathed. When it first ended, I was like, I came out the realest one. And then I see back and I'm like, wow, I still bought into a little bit. I might not have been like Shannon level. And she admits it.
Yeah.
I might not have been like so evil.
Yeah.
But I definitely like, I definitely probably bought into it because I was trying to save my own skin. Even if it's not a competition reality show, you still get into the moment where you're like, you want to make yourself look the best. Yeah. And like your selfishness comes out no matter what. Your narcissism comes out.
Yeah.
Not as bad because it's not national television, but I'm saying I feel that pressure sometimes. I'm like, I want to look my best. I want to present my best.
But I think like we're still always going to be kind to each other. Like,
yeah.
If there was like another set of cameras, not that I don't think I would do it again because I think I'm so much more like I realize who I became.
Yeah.
But if we were back there and they were like, hey, we want to also film your podcast, I would start a fight with you. Because they would be like, hey, Courtney came in late. She almost hit you. Like, they'd be like, she didn't even see where she was going. And then you're like, can you bring that up? And I'd be like, why the fuck did she almost hit me?
I saw them doing that.
Yeah. And it gets into your brain, like, So like, I think in my mind, I was like, I can't be convinced. I'm not, like how people like buy into cults. I'm like, I can't be bought in. And then I watch back and I'm like, oh shit, I bought in a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I mean, $10,000 an episode, it's a pretty nice paycheck.
Yeah.
So like I did what I was told to do. Yeah. And you go back and you're like, man, like I think like if I was like Shannon and Taylor, they were in their 18s and 20s. So like for them, they can be like, oh, I was young. I had no idea.
Yeah.
Right.
Like I was 30, like still buying into drama.
Were you?
Yeah, I
I
just
guess
turned
you
30.
were. Yeah.
So it's like hard for me. I feel like
Well, I don't view you that way.
yeah.
I thought you presented yourself well.
But I mean, I came from a real, not that I'm trying to like, I'm not trying to validate it, but like, I mean, I came from a super poor place in my life, you know, and that money like bought me a house.
Yeah.
I still found the person that I had kids with. You know what I mean? Like good things came from it, but
Yeah.
I wish I just was a better person. I wish I wouldn't have gotten so caught up in like, we went to an influencer event,
Yeah.
and all those people who still live in that world showed up. And like it was so weird. Like I'm hopping from table, like, oh, how's it going?
Yeah.
And like I looked at them like I have nothing and I cannot
Yeah,
do
I
these
cannot
events.
talk. Yeah.
And one of the girls who worked with us was like, I don't do well at these networking events. And I was like, it's not networking.
Yeah.
This is narcissism in like
This is-
like networking's like you go to like a convention
Yeah.
for, you know, your profession and you meet people who have the same profession. Like all these people do all day long is take pictures of themselves and talk about how great they are.
I went to a baby shower where it was like that round of like the moms. I couldn't hold a conversation with anybody.
No.
Because I was like, I don't know what to talk to you people
Well,
about.
also they're not nice like in those settings. So like
There's very fake. They're like, hi, where do you
oh
live?
my God, yeah, blah, blah, blah.
Weird. It's eerie.
Yeah.
To be around. Yeah.
Women are weird. too.
There is, but like,
true.
well, and if you can't offer anything, so like my girlfriend went to an event,
Yeah.
and literally a girl walked up to her and was like, blah blah blah, and she was like, wait a minute, are you a content creator? And she was like, no. She's like, oh, okay, well, it's nice meeting you, and like has
Oh yeah.
no.
If they don't, yeah, you
And
can't collab.
Right. And then I thought that was bizarre. I'm like, okay, because I'm like, okay, whatever. That really happened.
Yeah.
And then I was at work yesterday and I was talking to my coworker and she's like, oh, that literally happened to me at the event. I was like, are you kidding me? She's like, yeah, they were talking up and they're like, oh, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, oh, wait a minute. It's like, what's your handle? And she's like, oh, like I just work
I've
for
heard
Uncommon
this
James.
exact thing on so many podcasts.
Girl, her. Like you can, I was so
Let me look
annoyed
her
by her
up.
behavior.
Like a lot of the content world, like people feel like they have to put something on, and
It's like,
then they forget like
Yeah.
who they actually are and like how they normally react.
yeah.
Because I don't know, they get more reward for.
Oh, the girl that was on the.
Yeah, as soon as walked in the room, nobody else mattered. And I watched it happen in front of me, and I was like, you know, man, I shouldn't say you. What I really want to say is to the content creators that are social climbers, like, I feel bad for you. I feel bad that you have no other content, like true content in your life. Like, I go home and I see my babies and I hug them and I, you know, we go outside and we pick blackberries and then I'm like, oh, I'm going back to school for IT. Like, I'm sorry you have nothing else in your life
Right.
besides putting on. And there isn't anything else you can offer besides
Just a complete
fake content.
It's like emptiness.
It's such an emptiness.
Yeah.
And I felt bad
a
because
void.
I hate to say, like, you know, because a lot of people will be like, children make your world and fulfill it. And like, there are plenty of people I think have a fulfilling life outside of children. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is, like, if your only bit in life is to like put on makeup every day and like show what you bought off of Amazon, and you go to an event and you literally walk away from someone because they have nothing to offer you, you have a problem.
Yeah.
And it is like that. I can't. So I'm sitting there like this. I'm like thinking like I'm the oddball in the room,
But no.
but I'm not. Like that behavior is not normal.
No.
Like that.
No.
Like that's where we're at now, though.
It's
Yeah.
what somebody else can do for them. It has nothing. It's just very selfish behavior.
Oh yeah. So someone approached me about truth bombs and was like,
Oh,
"Hey,
really?
you should do a retreat." And I was like, "Oh, that's awesome." And the first thing I thought about after this whole thing was, I'm telling everybody to put their phones away. I don't want we can have somebody like a Taylor or somebody in the room like filming the content.
Yeah.
I don't want people. I want you engaged.
Right.
I want you like to pay attention to what you're doing because like I saw it when we were in our 20s. I can't remember where the image was, but it was like talking about people at like rock concerts. And it was like, this is the 70s and there's like hands in the air.
Yes.
And they're like, this is the 80s and it's like maybe like a camera. This is the 90s and it's phones. It's
Yeah.
like we're not experiencing life
No.
right now. We're just experiencing it through a lens and like how much are you actually taking in? Like when you're not looking up at each other in the eye, when you're so worried about like, oh, we have to film this moment, you know?
Did you see where like Italy? You're like part of our podcast right now.
Yeah.
Sorry. You're good. Did you see where in Italy, like I think it's Barcelona, where did you see this? Where the power grid went down and everyone was just outside enjoying life with no phones. Like picnic over here, people playing instruments over here.
Oh, yeah.
Like just everyone was just like to entertain each other, to feed each other. Like it was just a huge community that just came together.
Yeah.
Because they could not have any. They had no Wi-Fi.
Go outside again.
Yeah.
Probably the best
But also,
week of
isn't that crazy?
the kids' lives.
Yeah.
But isn't it crazy when you're like, oh my God, that's a monumental idea, and you're like, we were born into this ideal.
Like we
though.
can still do it now, but
Yeah.
we choose every day not to.
Yeah,
too
I saw
late.
something
Yeah.
wrong about
Too late
like how
now.
IT professionals don't allow their kids online, right? And I was like, oh, I'm an IT professional. I was like, oh my God. Before I had kids, every single year I would take a week off, and my vacation would be the PCT trail because
remember
you're like,
that.
and I haven't done it, and then I'm like, I feel that I need, but like kids, how are you gonna make that work? You know, like how do I go a week off the grid? And so eventually we'll have to find a way, like whether it's camping or something. But I was like, there totally needs once a year, everyone needs to just like recharge with the earth because
yes.
it puts if nothing else, it puts perspective that your life's totally on.
Or get one of those Wi-Fi cutter at like at least like at like 8 o'clock, all the Wi-Fi goes off. And you just have to you have to read a book. You have to, you know, something. Like you're forced into it.
Yeah, I watch my 3-year-old who can't, obviously, who's processing and learning emotions. And I watch her when you, like, you know, if she had like too much day, because like, let's say I had work or whatever, and I put it in front of her screen, right? These tantrums that these kids are having, like, that's them because they cannot regulate their emotions. So what's happening inside an adult body who's on 24/7?
Yeah.
Like when that cutoff happens, like that instant, like, oh, where's my life? Like, all that anxiety just like flushing through you, that's a like it's just like so like I think about that, and I'm like, and then I think about these people who quite literally have nothing else going on in their life. And yes, it's a job, I agree, like everybody, you know, everybody has a purpose, and like it's important to, you know, create, feel creative or whatever. But I think like if you miss the interaction, like if these influencer events are totally about learning the brand and being able to interact with others. And if your only concern is like what's on the table in front of you, getting the goodie bag and leaving.
Yep.
I don't know. I just can't. That's probably why I'm not a good influencer, because I'm like, I can't do this.
But you're a good person. That's what matters.
I don't know. But anyway, so yeah, long story short, I hate looking back at that person, because had we gone on another,
to bring it up.
no, I just think about it, had we gone on to, or like, you know, we ended at season 3, right? So like, had we done a 4th or 5th season, like, would I have been forthcoming enough to stop the train myself, or would I have just always bought into this lifestyle because I got so accustomed and so used to it so fast?
Spend so much time in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? And you're like,
weird.
and then you're like, oh, these producers are like coming over to me like, hey, like the brain that I have now to just like her and I had like a small like little like write off, right? And she was like, oh, I thought you'd still be mad at me. I'm like, no, I'm totally over it. Like, well, I got it out. We want, you know, like, I love you. I would never break up with you ever. I would have done it back then. I would have been.
You would have broken up with me?
Not broken up with you, but I would have been mad longer.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you know? And I think it's like, it's almost like your brain gets wired to like care about the small stuff because it makes for good TV.
Yeah, I remember seeing you and Reagan, or right, is it Regan or Reagan? I forget. But like at that Christmas party, and the producers, I could see looking out like how manipulative they were, and I could see how like you guys are being so easily manipulated. I'm like, guys, how do you not see like how fake this is? And it was just like,
well, because
I have a completely different
those shows are
perspective.
crazy.
It's
Right.
crazy because you're like, I can see that they're manipulating you, but they're like emotional talking to these producers. Like, yeah,
they
I do
make
have
you
to
feel
I have
like
to
you're
talk
like
to her about it.
the number one person,
Yeah.
and it doesn't start out that way. Like, it starts out where you realize, like, but they feed you small little tidbits. Like, they're like,
She said this.
well, they make, no, not that. It's like they make you think in the beginning. They're like, we have to make a good show.
Yeah.
And we just got to, this is just entertaining. So just pretend for a second.
Right.
Right. And then they're like, but think about what's really bothering you.
Yeah.
So at first you think you're pretending, or like, oh, like, okay, prime example, let's just say like you came in, we're like, oh, I was late and you were upset. They're like, this is just for good TV. Just pretend that you're mad that Brittany's late.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then you will say something like, you're late. And I'm like, you shut up behind me. Like, I would say something that would then trigger you to actually be mad.
Yeah.
And so the problem is you forget what's reality and what's for show at that point.
Yeah.
Right.
You know? And then you walk away from it and they're like, okay, film's off. Have a good day. You guys should go out to lunch. I'm like, I don't want to go out to lunch with you.
Yeah.
It's just that small manipulation tactic. And then to make you, like, they put you in separate quarters and they make each person feel like they're right. Right. And so the need to be right shows up. The ego shows up.
Yeah.
And then they make you feel like you're more important than the other person.
Yeah.
Like, you're the one really driving the show. Like, you.
And then you're not the one editing.
You have no idea. And you have no idea what and how you're going to be portrayed.
Yeah. There's a guy who does a podcast here who is on Temptation Island.
Oh, wow.
And it sounds like they completely changed his entire character. Like, anytime he's on a podcast here, he's talking about his faith and how it's like the center of all his relationships.
Yeah.
And he doesn't mention, they don't edit it to where he mentions God once.
And he had done it like multiple times on the show. Like, he had recorded saying,
yeah,
that's crazy.
And they completely changed it. Like,
but that's what you sign up for.
Yeah. You probably signed the contract.
Yeah, but that's also what so mentally messes with you is because you just said it. To him, you're a or to the world, you're a character.
Yeah.
But you're still you. Like, you're like, I'm not playing my name's not Courtney. My name's Brittainy.
Yeah.
Like, so like in my world, I feel like I'm still me.
Yeah.
I feel like I see me. And then you see yourself edited. And you're like, oh, that's not what I meant or what I said. And you're like, oh, I'm playing a character. Mm-hmm. But again,
the more you do that character,
that's the person you become.
Yep.
It's like the Heath Ledger, right? Like, you become the Joker.
Yeah.
It's very, I don't know. I would be interested to see if like there was a psychologist that could walk down like that like reality path, because that is such like a totally different, like, I'll never get bought into a cult. I'll never, I don't believe that I would ever be like truly scammed, right? But I'm like,
do you want to join my MLM?
not going to join an MLM. But I bought into the reality cult. Yeah. You know?
Yeah.
And
it's like the Stanford prison experiment.
Yes.
You know about that?
Yes.
Where they play the guards and then they actually
and it was like 3 days, right?
Role. Yeah.
It was like they took like how many days to play, because you have a sense of power.
Right.
You're like, I'm going to be this.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. Who are you when cameras are watching?
Right, cameras are watching.
Sorry.
I think that's part of our podcast.
There you go.
I'll bleep,
there you go.
I'll
We're 30
bleep some
minutes
names
in.
out.
Yeah.
But thanks, Taylor.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll pay for our
extra
weekly.
minutes.
Yeah.
No, you're fine.
Okay,
Okay.
we'll get started.
Thank you.
Quick break to tell you about something we're genuinely loving in our homes, Truly Free. If you have been meaning to swap out your toxic laundry detergent for something safer, this is your moment. When you grab their laundry bundle, you get 300 loads for free, plus a laundry machine cleaner and a refillable jug. Everything you need to make the switch easy. Truly Free's formulas are non-toxic, plant-based, and safe for your family. No junk, no harsh chemicals, just products that work in a company that actually cares. Head to the show notes or the link in our Instagram bio to claim your free 300 loads and make your first clean swap with Truly Free.
So, this is, I don't know how we got here. It seems like it was just yesterday where we were starting this back in October.
Yeah.
Now we're on season 3.
And we're not even a year in.
Yeah,
That's great.
It's crazy. But yeah, we have a lot of different things to kind of cover today, I think, in a sense where we just need to catch up from what happened or what's been going on for the past month.
Yeah, you've been going through a lot.
I've been going through a lot, and I'll get to that in a little bit.
Yeah.
But you went back to work.
I went back to work.
Yep.
Yeah, back to work full time. That's been a fun one. First off, childcare is so expensive.
So expensive.
And 2 kids makes it even, because in my mind they would be together, but River is now at the age where she's starting like a pre-K, so like she's like a summer pre-K situation. And then Lennon obviously would be in like a traditional daycare setting or like a PDO setting. And so they're not together. And eventually I think, obviously they will be in the same grade schools, but that presents a totally different path, because like where you want to be, like Nashville's like a drive city. There's no place that you can really walk around, right? So if you think about that in terms of like childcare too, I'm literally having to go 30 minutes to one place to drop off Lenny or have care at home, and then dropping off River to then go to 30 minutes to work. So the drive time is like anywhere
Crazy.
between 50 minutes to an hour and a half.
That's crazy.
Just to the 2.
Yeah.
And then to the back. So like 3 to 5 hours is spent in drive time, depending on traffic.
What do you do? So River did not take a bottle. Is Lenny taking a bottle then? She's not? Wait, this is new. I didn't know this.
She was. She laments. So she'll just be like, okay, like I'm hungry enough.
Yeah.
But she won't be offered. Like if you offer it first, she's like, nah.
No.
So she'll take maybe a half an ounce. But the silver lining is that she doesn't cry like River does. River would scream the entire time I was gone or like scream herself to sleep.
Okay.
Lenny will hang and she'll like take a sip here and there.
Yeah.
To like kind of get herself going. Both my kids will not take preserved milk. So like if I pump and I put it in the freezer, they won't take it because I have like a high lipase or high lipase. I don't know how you say that. So I have to scald the milk.
Okay.
So it's like a whole process.
Yeah.
And even then, the scalded milk she may not take.
So what does scalding the milk mean? Like really hot temperature?
You put it on low until the bubbles form.
Okay.
And you can see my milk has a really high fat content, and you can tell because it smokes.
Okay.
Like it's the craziest thing. But you can't let it boil. So like the first couple of bubbles, you're like done.
Yeah.
And she will obviously you put it in the freezer, the refrigerator, and it lasts a day. So if she's really hungry, she will be like, okay, fine, I'll take it.
Yeah.
But most of the time, like I left to come here, I pump a fresh one, and that gives me what 4 hours? I think it's like 6 hours is topped, but I don't ever really take that. Like I put myself on a 4-hour time limit.
Yeah.
And most of the time she will take like maybe 2 of those ounces. Sometimes she'll take like the whole thing.
Yeah.
But 90% of the time she's like 1 to 2 ounces only. And then she just waits till I come home for.
See, I have always wondered this. I don't think people talk about this enough. Like when you're exclusively breastfeeding and they don't take a bottle, like what do you do? Like you have it where, thank God, like you don't really have to go into work every single day. Like there's people that have to go into work like what do those people
for 40
do?
hours?
And like what if you're a single mother on top of that?
I think the baby just like gives up. This is like that's really what I feel.
Really sad.
It's a sad way to think about it. And look, it's so important to have if you're breastfeeding like if you want a good journey, it's so important to have them be comfortable at the breast. But I was totally thrown off when my lactation consultant was like, it's actually harder for them to learn the bottle. And I was like, what? I thought the bottle was easier.
Yeah.
They're like, no, because the bottle isn't a warm, soft breast.
Yeah.
You know? And so for them, they're like, what, like the sucking motion actually comes from the breast, whatever. So when you get wait, what am I saying this? It's harder for the bottle, harder for the breast. It's harder for the breast. Sorry.
Oh, it is harder. It's
harder for the breast.
Okay.
I always thought the breast was easier.
Okay.
Because I'm like, oh, it's what they're used to.
Yeah.
She's like, no. The bottle, depending on the nipple that you get too, comes out a lot easier. You're adjusting to what they need versus like you're sitting at a whatever. And because it's soft, they have to have more sucking. So
yeah. And it forms their mouth.
Yes.
And their palate and everything.
Yes. So this whole time I'm like, oh, it's easy. Like she'll get to a bottle. It'll be easier. And then she won't want my boob. Am I saying this wrong? I feel like I'm saying this wrong.
You're afraid that the bottle will replace the boob. I think you were right.
In the beginning,
yeah,
I thought that.
Yeah.
And so, but in order to have a really good breastfeeding journey, you have to train them at the breast.
Yeah.
Right? So they're like, okay, give your baby a bottle once a week.
Okay.
Or once a day at least. And we try.
Yeah.
But neither of my kids, even though we tried it that way, neither of my kids really wanted it. And especially after post tongue tie, they definitely didn't want the bottle. They were like, nope, I'm going for comfort. Yeah. So I feel like I got that wrong. It's harder at the bottle.
Do you want me to look it up?
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like I thought one way and then it was the other. And I'm pretty sure she said it's actually hard at the bottle now that I say this.
All right. Chat GTP, where are you at?
Oh, yeah.
What do you think, while I'm looking this up, what do you think other single moms that are like exclusively breastfeeding that have to go to work, that have to send their kids to daycare, like how do they manage that? Do you know anybody that has to do that? Or like have you heard any stories?
Oh, yeah. Well, I think that's why I said it's over time. You just get used to it.
Okay.
So
they give up. That's right.
So my whole thing is I just like, I'm so interested in my relationship with my children getting like that bond. Like I have that need for that bond. What is the word that I'm looking for? like nurturing it, I guess, in the beginning. It's like such a need for me postpartum.
Yeah.
Like I have to have them closed. Like I think like that was with Lenny. I was like, my baby doesn't like me. And I like lost it, you know?
Yeah.
And then so it's maybe a codependency problem of mine that I should probably work on. But I am so like needing them to bond, or I want that bond so bad that I think I just kind of coddle a little bit, and it maybe doesn't work to my benefit towards the end. So I think like for moms that can offer the bottle, like dad can help with the bottle, or you know a caregiver can help with the bottle, or the baby, I feel like that's probably, they get used to it and it gets better over time. I don't know. My kids are, I hate to say the word broken because they're not broken, but my kids are just like, no.
They're very attached to you.
Very.
But it's beautiful to watch.
Yeah. They like, yeah. And I truly, I think I said this to you, or maybe my other girlfriend, like, I know a lot of people are like, yeah, after one, you know, one is easy because they're like your whole world, and you know, like you're so used to being like the helicopter style mom or whatever. When you have two, you get touched out. I truly don't.
Really?
Like, I get touched out about other things, like
the dogs.
Like the dogs. And actually that's even gotten better. It's just that first postpartum, I had like crazy postpartum anxiety. Yeah. And once I got it managed, you know, like supplements, being more active, getting outside, I'm fine.
Yeah.
You know, it's just that first couple of weeks where everything's new and like you have a new routine you've got to form. But like I have pictures, yesterday, like my kids will, like Lenny will be on the boob, River will be like over here and she'll be like, Mommy, I want to cuddle. And I'm like, cool. And she'll fall asleep here and Lenny will fall asleep here. And I will just be like, I'm good.
Yeah.
Like, nothing about them needing me. I'll carry both of them. Like nothing about them needing me makes me feel overwhelmed. And maybe that's like after 3 kids. I don't know. But like for me, I just don't get touched out. Like
I think maybe it's just a you thing, because I mean, I will admit I definitely do. Like if Easton has to spend the night in our bed, I'm fine with it. But the next day, like I need a minute. Like he'll like try to like continue to be all over me. And I'm like, hey, like, can you go watch TV for a second? Like I do feel that. So it just might be like a you thing. Like I love cuddling with him and everything, but like there's a time when I'm like, I just need a little bit of space. Like I need a good like 15, 30 minutes.
It's definitely a me thing. I literally like if they would want to be held or carried 24/7, I would do it.
Oh my gosh, that's so beautiful.
I think it's just because my mom wasn't a coddler.
Maybe, yeah.
And like I just have that like, oh my gosh, they love me so much. I love them so much. And I know, truly, truly, truly know from looking now at River to Lennon how fast it goes.
Yes.
You know, like River used to like scream when we would go to daycare, right? I have a video of myself on TikTok being like, this is never ending. And now she gets to school and she's like, bye, Mommy.
Does that break your heart a little bit?
It's like, it's not, it doesn't break my heart. Like, I'm like, oh, I want you to need me. But it does like go, there's a moment where I'm like, oh my God, that changed. We went to the chiropractor the other day and even Dr. Carly said the same thing. She was like, I remember at 6 months when we first came, she was like, from the time she walked through that door to the time she left, she was screaming like, I don't want to be here. Now she hops up on the table, you know? And so it's great to see their little independent stages, but it is the end of an era, you know? And so I know I don't, you know, when I go home, I don't crawl in bed with my mom. I'm 30 something, you know? So at some point that ends.
Right.
You know, and I just, childhood is so fleeting for me. And maybe because of things that happened in my childhood too, that I'm like, I want her to feel so safe and so comforted. I don't feel like it comes at a deficit to me. I don't feel like it comes at a deficit to my relationship with PJ. Like we both truly love it. Like River, the first time, like made her dad angry. I'm not like disappointed. She pulled all the, he had done all the laundry and she pulled all the laundry off the bed. And he was like, River, I need a minute. And like shut the door to fix the laundry. And she looked at me and she was like, Daddy's mad at me. And I was like, yeah, he's not happy with you right now. And we just like very, like not like screamed at, just like, yeah, he's not happy with you right now.
Like that's his emotion.
Yeah, he needs a minute. Dad doesn't do well with like things like that. And she was like, I watched her feel that like daddy disappointment. And she was like, Mommy, I want to go say I'm sorry right now. And I was like, it's okay. You can just say you're sorry when you come. No, I need to. And she like grabbed, there was one piece of clothing that he had forgotten to bring. It like he left it on the couch. And she put it on the hanger. And so when he opened the door, she goes, I helped. And it was like,
oh my God,
my whole soul just, you know, like it just like came out of me that like she was like, she's such a daddy's girl. Like that first moment of like, my daddy's disappointed in me. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I think about those things and I'm like, man, you know, it's gonna be ever fleeting, and they get to a point where they're gonna be able to understand, like they're gonna go through their body changes, they're gonna go through their mind changes, they're gonna go to school, they're gonna have other influences. And so if I could just snuggle them a little bit,
You're soaking every little last drop. Like
I'm trying.
Yeah. Where I'm like, all right, my cup is full. I need 15 minutes.
Yeah. But also, you made the ultimate sacrifice of not going to work.
True.
You know, so I still, even in a weird way, I still feel like I get that break because I'm away from them for a little bit.
Yeah, and like this, I do feel like when I come here, I'm like, ooh, it's a little break. I'm like, ooh, we're gonna go get lunch after this, because usually you have Lennon. I always call her Lemon.
She's Lemon. She's forever Lemon.
It's Lemon, guys. Our kids call her Lemon.
I know, this is the first time I haven't had her.
It's the first time you haven't had her, so we're like, let's get lunch. Both of your aunt's in town, right? And my mom's in town, so we were like, ooh, we don't have to pay for childcare. Yeah, we don't have to rush back. Let's go. We're over in a fun part of town where there's lots of lunch, or there's lots of good lunch spots. So
so postpartum's been good to me. I mean, I was gonna do a post the other day actually on like what have felt the most important, and I definitely think the supplements of like magnesium, this embrace, this milk moon. I don't know what it is. It's witch's magic, but it's just herbs. It's just like a spoonful of sugar makes medicine go down. It literally is like a tiny little spoonful of liquid, and it's like a calming liquid.
Is that like for breastfeeding or
postpartum?
Okay.
So I got really interested the second baby on postpartum support.
Okay.
In fact, I'm going to a baby shower, and I was like, I much rather get things that are going to help mom.
Yeah.
Because I know that feeling.
Yeah.
And so this round, I really did like postpartum care on like, what do I need
to
feel my best, especially with 2 kids. And one thing that was brought up to me was this, it's called Embrace. It's like a little red pill, but it's postpartum support. And then there's this like herbal liquid called Milk Moon.
Okay.
And it's not for any other reason except for like, it has like ashwagandha. It has like different herbals. I think it's a Nashville-based company because I didn't have it in Philly. I didn't bring the bottle, and I needed it. And they're like, oh yeah, we don't have it out there. And I was like, no, you know, But it's like if a cup of tea calms you, that's what it is. It's just like a little extra sip of calmness, and it takes the edge off of postpartum anxiety.
Okay.
But yeah, I definitely feel like I felt more supported this round. And because of that, I think that's why I don't feel so touched out.
Okay.
That's
big. I have to try that next time.
Yeah. Because you're about to have 2. But you went through.
Yes. So unfortunately, well, I was hoping to be announcing something a little bit different this podcast. I was really excited to honestly be like, hey guys, I'm pregnant, because I was. And you'll hear it in the next episode. We kind of talk about, we filmed it while I was pregnant. I was pregnant, and I unfortunately had a miscarriage around 8 or 9 weeks. I think it was like late April, early May. And it was, oh my God, I'm going to cry. It was a roller coaster for, I'd say, 3 weeks, because of all of Brittainy was there like through everything. Yeah. And that's also why you guys saw us kind of taking some pauses and like taking off a couple weeks between episodes, because I just was like, I can't do this right now, and thank you for understanding that. But I think it really started when I went to go to my first ultrasound, and this woman was
we never talked
about this. No, this woman was absolutely horrible. I went in, and she didn't even look at me, didn't introduce herself, didn't talk. I had my son with me, and I had my husband. My husband had him in a lap, and he had a little monster truck, and he was just like going, oh, monster truck. And the woman was just shooting daggers at Easton. They weren't saying anything to me. They weren't like confirming that there was a baby in there. I've never been in an ultrasound like that. I'm telling you, like when I had Easton, I went in at 5 weeks for my first ultrasound because I had some spotting. And they were showing me things and interacting with me, showing me the screen. So it wasn't because I went in super early. Like it was around 7 weeks that I ended up going in this time around. It was because, I don't know. She's just a bitch.
I mean, so to put it in perspective, I had gone to the same woman.
Yeah. And I called Brittainy crying.
Yeah. And as soon as you said that, I was like, I described this woman, and you were like, yes, it's the same woman. And well, obviously you're going to go down what happened at the second ultrasound, but the fact that like this woman still remains, and I get that health professionals are they're not a dime a dozen, right? They're important.
Yeah.
But I will say that I think in the presence of a new mother, right? Like you're freshly pregnant. Like there's a lot of anxiety going on. I don't think you're allowed to have a bad day. Sorry.
No.
Like I don't think that those people, if you're gonna have a bad day at an ultrasound for a new mom, probably call out or do something like, like go take a breath or maybe drink some.
Said it perfectly. You were like, go scan buttholes.
Yeah, go scan buttholes for a living.
Yeah.
Like, I think that it is people don't understand the hormone changes, but this woman does because she has kids. Like I remember seeing pictures
I was like,
of this
Brittany,
woman.
maybe she doesn't have to. Like I was trying to give her the benefit of the doubt, and she was like, no, she has kids.
Yeah,
like,
because I remember her saying that
Yeah.
at my ultrasound and having pictures.
Yeah.
But again, not to take from your story, but like you were like, oh my gosh, she was awful. I was like, she was awful at mine. So
Yeah.
it's not just down to a bad day. This person's just actually awful because we ended up wanting River a part of the process, and the office that we're at is very. From my midwife to my OB to our pediatrician, like to the everybody who was part of this process was really welcoming to that fact that like River was going to be a part of this. I was not going to have her separated from the whole thing, right? And this woman, I will never forget. I walked through the door and they're like, "Is she going to be quiet?" And I was like, "You know what? We're not going to have a good time, you and I." And I thankfully was able to like pull her out of like I was like, "Oh, how's this?" But not every person, and I shouldn't have had to do that, right? I shouldn't have had to make her feel more comfortable or her feel better.
No.
Like it was just strange that she was so off-putting in a field that is
all about mothers and having babies and having a family.
and you're already anxious enough
Right.
going through ultrasounds because every ultrasound is like what you feel like in your case, you're like, is the baby there? What's going on? What's happening? And to, I get that the tech is not allowed to tell you what's happening. And maybe she saw something that, she had to
100%
whatever,
understand that. Yes.
But you still can be warm.
Right. Or at least introduce yourself and say, hi, my name is, I'm going to be your tech. It was literally, I walked in the door. You can sit down over there, lay down over here. Like it was awful. So I think it was transabdominal is what Jamie had put on the order form. So I forgot I needed to fill my bladder because I haven't done this in 2 years. And the first one that I did with Easton, it was a transvaginal. So I thought that that's what we're going to be doing today. So I emptied. So she was like, I can see the heartbeat, but I'm not getting it on the Doppler. Let's go ahead. And can you just go out in the waiting room, drink like a bunch of water and then come back in? I was like, okay. I sat there for 45 minutes to an hour with a toddler with Justin. Justin had gone out to the car to take a call because he didn't expect to be there that long. So he was on a conference call. And they have nobody in this office at all. No one comes out and gets me and checks on me in 45 minutes. So I had to literally there's no receptionist in this office, this part of the office. And I had to literally go behind the door and be like, hey, I'm about to pee my pants. And they were like, okay, yeah, come on in. Can you leave him out there? They wanted me to leave my 2-year-old out in the lobby by himself. I was like, no. They're like, well, where's the dad? I was like, he had to go take a phone call. She's like, oh, I guess he can come in if he'll be quiet. I'm like, I can put, as we know, I don't do screens. I'm like, I will give him Blippi. And he will not talk.
Right. Also, for people who are listening, they're like, why didn't you just leave your kids at home? I think it's important to note that Courtney and I are from the North. We don't have family. We also don't have, we're not rich. We don't have nannies. We don't have people who can, we have limited childcare. We're also very intentional about who takes care of our children.
Very intentional, yeah.
If that person's not available or, again, you want to Easton part of the process.
I want to
Mom, Dad, and Easton. We're a 3-family unit. We're all going together. We're 5 minutes down the road. It doesn't make any sense. And
right.
so, and there's a lot of places, after I went to this woman, I never went to her again, which I told Courtney. I was like, do not go back to this place. But when we went to the next ultrasound, because I refused to go back to this lady, we went to a different ultrasound center and I called them and I said, hey, I have limited childcare. Is it okay? I get that there are places a bar, for example, right? There are places that young children shouldn't be in, or it's an inconvenience to some. However, we have to start taking people's lifestyles into some thought process here. You are not able, we're not going to have childcare for the 30 minutes that it takes to get this ultrasound. It's also his little brother or sister. Like this is a process for you guys as a whole family unit. So to make it seem like he's such an inconvenience when he quite literally is the quietest boy I've ever met. Like he has quiet boy energy. Yeah. He is not like a rambunctious baby. Like, and even if he was,
he can't. But in these situations, he's very good.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, but even if he was
playing
that's
his monster truck. Like he's entertaining himself in his dad's lap.
Right. And like, what was he going to do in that situation? You know, I think about those things. I'm like, my kid's not going to like go up to your computer and rack it. Like, and I get that you don't know that. So let's have a conversation about it. But don't automatically think that like I'm bringing a tornado into your room.
Yeah.
Like that's not really fair.
Yeah. Again,
especially in a place where there's another child developing in your belly. And it's like this like happy, anxious moment that you want to, I don't know, man. I just think that when we keep separating children from mothers, it's such a fucked up space.
Well, it's also like I just chose to be a stay-at-home mom, so I didn't have to get childcare. That was the whole point. And for reasons like right now, yes, we have it, but like not for like the 30 minutes, like you said. And it's just so interesting to me. This has been said a lot lately, and it really, really resonates with me. It's like you can choose to live a childless life, but you don't get to live in a childless world. Like children are a part of this world. They're a very big part of this world. They're our future. They deserve to be part of the story that we have when it comes to raising a family. And like, I want him there. I want him to go, oh, look, baby. Like that is something that I envision. Yep. And like to have that going in there and then it completely go not the right way.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. So essentially she isn't very nice. And then Justin knocks on the door and she's like, is that the dad? He can take him out. And I was just like, God, can you just stop being mean? I didn't say it. I was in shock.
Also, you're so nice. I think
I wouldn't have been the next time I went there. I was in shock, like the way she was treating.
Yeah.
Because I was just like, what? I was in shock, and I was like, what is going on with this baby? Like, there's something wrong. Like, I didn't know. My emotions were all over the place at this point. But she was like, can you see if that's the dad so he can take the kid out and blah blah blah, whatever. So then she's like, okay, well, I can't get the Doppler heartbeat, so can you go pee? So I just spent all this time filling up. I drank this whole entire bottle in like 10 minutes. And then she asked me to pee. And I'm like, why didn't we just do this transvaginal before you had me go sit out there
also, I think
with my child?
So wild because when we had this conversation on the phone, I was like, I don't know any time that in under 9 weeks anyone does anything but transvaginal. Because I remember with River, we went and they were like, yeah, this little, we're not going to be able to see it. We have to do transvaginal, you know?
Right.
So I don't know. Maybe I'm misunderstanding it, but like, and maybe when we talk, there's professionals that can comment on it. But I've just never, in my mind, if the baby's that small, you have to get up close and personal, right?
Right.
So
right.
All right, mama, real quick before we keep going, if you've ever thought, why isn't this diet working for me? Or why do I always feel tired even when I'm doing everything right? It could come down to your genetics. That's why we love MaxGen Labs. Their at-home genetic tests help you understand how your body works, like how you process food, how you detox, what vitamins you actually need, and even your fitness tendencies. It takes all of the guesswork and helps you make choices that actually fit your body. And here's the best part. Just for being a Truth Moms listener, you get 10% off any test. Just head to maxgenlabs.com and use the code TruthMoms at checkout. Again, that's TruthMoms for 10% off because knowing your body is the first step to feeling your best. All right, back to the show.
So essentially, she sends me back out to the lobby and she like walks out of the office for a little bit. We're in there for 15 minutes. She's like, okay, you can go. Your healthcare professional will call you, Jamie. And I'm like, okay, anything? Like, you can't tell me anything. Like, nothing. Yeah. I mean, nothing is being said.
And I thought it was surprising you got no pictures either.
Got no pictures. That was a big red flag to me too. So I'm thinking it was a Friday, and I'm thinking I think it's like around 1 or 2 o'clock. And I know Jamie is so busy. And I'm thinking I'm not getting a call probably till Monday at this point. Like, I'm like, she's either going to call me late, and I just start breaking down crying. And all of a sudden I just see Hopewell pop up, and I'm like, she's calling me like right now, like as I'm breaking down. And poor Jamie, she gets me, and I'm like, hello. And she's just like, are you okay? I was like, she was awful. I mean, I am full on just like having like a panic attack. She's like, okay, calm down. The baby is fine. And I'm like, okay. And she's like, what happened? And I explained what happened. She's like, okay. She's like, why don't you come in? Let's get some blood work done just to see where you're at, to make sure your levels are okay. And like, I'm going to come in and I'm going to give you a hug. Within 2 minutes of me getting in the office, she's in there. She's like giving me a big hug. So I just want to say thank you, Jamie. Like that meant the world. She has gone above and beyond throughout this entire process.
And I think that after someone like we go to Hopewell, and after experiencing what we do at Hopewell, I'm going to cry now. I would never have, like, I now know what a real provider looks like. Like, I would never, even like if that shut down tomorrow and we had to go find somebody, like I will interview 10 OBs before I
100%.
just go back into a world where it's like, hi and bye, you know, because there is something, not that obviously it can't happen all of the time, but like in the most important moments like this, again, it is so important to have a human interaction, like someone to hug you, because you're like, I hear you. You. I know you're worried. You are putting your life in your babies in my care, and I'm going to take care of you. And that's something that you need. Like we all need. We need to be seen.
Yes, and I know she had gone through it multiple times, so I knew that she really understood, and she said all the right things. And going back to the picture thing, I was like, yeah, I didn't even get a picture. And she's like, I'm gonna get one for you. Went and found one with whatever she got sent to her and sent it to me, text message later that night. She's like, here's your baby, already so loved, like just a sweet little message. And it was just like the definition of going above and beyond. And it just gave me so much hope and like made me feel so much better. But obviously we know that it didn't work out.
So we talk about, just before you get to that point though, like talk about your blood work, because I think this is an important
This
thing.
is really important. And I also want to say the reason why I didn't have an OB that was working with me this time is what exactly you just said. I was interviewing OBs. I was trying to figure out like where I wanted to go next, because I didn't want to have that kind of care that you're talking about where it was just like, okay, hi and bye. I was trying to figure out, I was really doing my research. So Jamie was kind of that interim, like until I found someone. So she's like, let's get blood work. Let's get a baseline. And then I want you to, when you come in, because I was getting my max gen done on Monday, she's like, let's do blood work again. So we realized that my progesterone had gone down, but my HCG had gone up. So she put me on progesterone ASAP. And I had a ultrasound scheduled for the following Monday. And the second time, I actually did go back to the same place, but I specifically asked to not have the same person. And the second lady she was very, very nice. She was great, but I could tell that something was wrong. And unfortunately, they could not find a heartbeat. So then that was a Monday, and Jamie had me come in later that afternoon to get more blood work to see if the HCG level had gone down, just to confirm it. They thought pretty much that I was having a miscarriage, but just to confirm it at that point. Sorry.
In all this time you're bleeding. That was the other thing.
Yes. So I had bled a little bit, spotted, like with Easton. So this time around I was like, okay, I'm not going to worry about it this much. Like this is something that I do. So I was spotting a little bit. It was like a tinge here and there. It wasn't like crazy amounts by any means, but I think it was that Thursday right after I went on the progesterone, I had like a more significant bleed, and that kind of scared me. And that was probably when it was starting, but the progesterone was actually holding off for me going into a full-on miscarriage. So, but back to that Monday that I got the second ultrasound, that was the hardest part, because it was just a waiting game, and they lost my test results, or like Quest couldn't find my results at one point. So it was 2 days.
You went through it. Like you had this like terrible first experience at the ultrasound. You're like already anxious about what's happening with the baby. The blood work is showing this progesterone going down. And then you're like, obviously have the second better experience with the tech, but another bad experience, right? Where you're like, I
walk out with. Yeah. She had me walk out a back door. Like, she was like, you can go this way. Like, she didn't even make me go through the lobby. And that's when I knew. Yeah. I was like, oh. And then they're calling me like, wow, where are you? And I'm like, we need you to sign something. I'm like, okay, I'm not coming back.
Yeah.
But Yeah.
And then you have this blood work that now gets lost in transit. And so you're like, and at this point, like I told her all the time, I was like, I feel so bad because during this time I'm like toxically positive because I was like, I just didn't want to, not that I didn't want to believe, I just didn't want it for you. And I was like, okay, it's going to be fine. Like everything's gonna be okay. Like maybe they just thought, maybe it's a good sign. Like, hey, the bleeding is stopping. Like I was like, every time there was like a small glimmer of hope, I was like riding on it.
No, but I told her, I'm like, no, I needed that. It was fine. And because I think at one point I had really given up and you were like, why are you giving up? And I'm like, I just know. Like I feel like it's easier to just go there with me right now. And then if something great does happen, if for some reason it's just a fluke and they can't see the heartbeat on the ultrasound, then fine. But no, that was the worst 2 days. I couldn't move. I couldn't get out of bed. I had my mother-in-law coming over and getting Easton. And I just wanted to know what was going to happen. That was the worst.
Yeah, because it was such a roller coaster for you. And then that's what was the hardest part for me to watch you go through was like, is it okay? Is everything okay? What's going on? This waiting game.
It was a long waiting game, and 2 days doesn't sound like a lot, but it was just like I couldn't. It was the only thing I could think about. The only thing. It sucked. Once I knew, I had a really good cry, and like I just felt this relief, unfortunately, of just knowing that I had to move on and like just look to the future and just knowing it just wasn't the time. And I think that's the hardest thing is that now when I don't get triggered that much, honestly, like, and I don't get upset about it that much. I'm getting upset about it now because I've kind of waited to let this all out on the podcast. And I've said to Brittainy, I just want to like have like a therapy session about it. But really I've chosen to move on and I've been okay. But the hardest thing is just seeing people that I was pregnant with where we were like, oh, our due dates are like 2 months apart, or seeing those people. And it's not their fault. I'm not blaming them at all. Like I'm still happy for them. But that's, I think the hardest part is like, oh, I was supposed to have my baby then. And I had been preparing for this since I think June, July, August of last year.
Yeah.
Just
we've talked about it a bit on the podcast, trying to get conceived because you were having these months where we're like, okay, I think so. And then it wasn't. And I think so. And then it wasn't. And then I remember you telling me like the last time I was pregnant with Easton, I craved beer. And I remember like 2 weeks before you found out, you were like, oh, I'm craving beer. And I was like, oh, and you were like, no, I already took a pregnancy test and said no. And I was like, we're too early, And so like that moment of like leading up to like,
Brittainy knew I was pregnant before I did.
I was like, I had to, but right. And I was like, so I think that, and then I felt bad too. Cause I was like, man, I hyped this up for you so much. Cause I was so excited for you.
No.
And then like even us, because we're like, oh, this is gonna be like the same time River and Easton, and you have like, I think anybody that's gone through a miscarriage, it's like there's no way because if you're excited to be a mother, you're going to like envision and fantasize about like what's to come. Like when you see those two pink lines, like you immediately start thinking like, what's it going to be like? And so like that's okay. Like I love that you did that, and I like feel like it's not like, yes, it's going to hurt to see other people, but like you're allowed to feel that too, like you're allowed to be like, fuck, that sucks.
Yeah. For sure. I think you just can't be an asshole to them about it, obviously. And that's been done to me, but
if you're in a space where like you can't feel like you can be happy for somebody, like just hide away a little bit, but still, I still think that that's so normal to have that reaction.
100%. I think two things can exist, like many things. Two things can exist at the same time. You can be sad for yourself. You can be really upset that this isn't happening for you, but you can be really happy that it's happening for someone else.
Yeah.
And seeing them go through it can trigger you to be a little sad about it while still being happy for them. Those are all the emotions. You're allowed to have two emotions at once.
Yeah.
You're allowed to feel that way. And I think sometimes people don't think that you can.
Yeah. And vice versa. You can be really happy for yourself and still feel bad. I mean, when I was pregnant with River, my sister was pregnant at the same time. And we did that whole like, oh my gosh, we're going to be, we're going to have cousins that are the same age. And she had a stillbirth at 23 weeks. And that, I watched myself, and I think that's why I was like, so like, how are you? What's going on? What can we do? Because I was so embarrassed of my behavior then. I was like, are you okay? And then I didn't know how to talk to her about it because I was pregnant and happy. And then like that was gone. And I didn't know if I was going to hurt her to talk about my pregnancy. Like, because at the time it was really all I talked about. And then I didn't know how to have a conversation with her about loss, you know? And so I just kind of ghosted, not Morgan, like if you felt like I ghosted you, I felt like I ghosted you and I'm sorry, but I didn't know how to deal with that package of loss. And at the same time be like,
happy
I get to move on and have a healthy pregnancy, you know?
Yeah. And that's, I was actually kind of before the miscarriage kind of going through that same thing with my friend who also had a stillbirth, who I think we're going to have on this season as well. And it's, you're like, I feel guilty for almost being pregnant. And you almost want to be like, I don't want to be that reminder that, hey, like I'm pregnant and now you're not, you just had a loss. It's such a delicate thing. So I understand why you maybe backed away a little bit, because sometimes they do need space. So they just don't want to talk to anybody.
Yeah. And I think that's where it's important. That's what I've learned postpartum here. Mom has a baby and like, what do you do? Right. Like mom has a miscarriage. What do you do? Like, I think it's so important to remind people that we cannot place our feelings. Like I might want to be left alone.
Yeah.
But you might need a hug.
Right.
And so like, I have to walk out of my ego and be like, well, she's probably thinking this, and like assuming what that person needs, and just straight up being like, if I love you and you're my friend and I feel that we have that connection, to say like, what can I do for you right now? What do you need from me right now?
That's the best saying, like, what can I do for you? Or just start acting in ways where you're not in their face. Bring them food. Like you did that, you're like, hey, let me bring you breakfast. What after time goes by, like, hey, if you're up for it, let's go do this. Like just not putting that pressure, but letting them know, hey, I'm here. But you don't have to do any of these things. I don't have to be over. I don't have to come and give you a hug, but I'm here if you need me. I think that's the best thing to do in those situations where you're kind of covering like, hey, like this person wants to be alone or this person needs a hug. Just gauging that. Right. So
I mean, we learned that I think the best part of all of this is that we learned this like going through like the toddlerhood stage, where like when kids are freaking out, like as a parent, as a person, your initial reaction is to like want to fix. So like, let me fix your boo-boo. Instead of just being like, I can't fix this. I can't give you that baby back. Right. So like, I have to ask you like, what do you need? How can I help? How can I be there? I can't fix it, but I can hear you out, you know?
Yeah. So
So how are you now?
Because
how long
honestly,
has it been?
I'm actually doing well. I mean, I would say, besides obviously right now, it looks like I'm like very upset, but like I'm going back into like a time where it,
but that was like what, 2 months? It was 2 months ago, right?
It was the end of April. So almost a month and a half ago.
Yeah. So, I mean, because it took you, I mean, you were like, you still went through what felt like a postpartum, like a 6-week moment where you were up and down.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, I haven't gotten my period yet, if that tells you anything. Like I'm still kind of going through it in a way, like, and this is all new territory to me. I don't know when I'm going to be getting it. So I don't really know where I am in my cycle. My hormones, I think right now are all over the place. And I feel like maybe I'm about to get my period. So I just feel like there's that whole hormone rush. But I mean, a miscarriage can last up to 2 weeks. And I think I was about 10 days. I mean, it's a long time. And like, I had a natural miscarriage. I didn't take anything. I didn't have a DNC. We just naturally let it happen after I got off of the
that was a lot for you too. Because I remember the text that you had sent when you were like, I'm holding.
Oh,
that made me cry.
Okay.
I was like,
so I'm going to get into it without getting into all of the details of that. You guys can fill in the blanks, but okay. So I thought I had passed. We basically, during a miscarriage, if you've never had one before, which I'm finding most women have.
1 in 4, right?
Yeah, 1 in 4. But when I talk to somebody, like the only people that haven't is like you and my friend Wendy. Like everyone has like, oh yeah, I went through that. So it's kind of crazy that we're not talking about this more. But anyways, when you go through a miscarriage, you pass a lot of tissue, and it's just like, clumpy blood essentially. And I thought I had passed all of mine, and it had been a couple days since I had passed any. I went on a boat. We live on the lake, and we take the boat to dinner. And we go to this little restaurant that's on the lake, and it's a really fun little kind of dive bar that we love. It's our favorite. And I went to the bathroom. I went to pee, and I felt this gush. And I didn't hear anything like plop. I'm thinking, oh, well, there's more tissue. Didn't feel anything plop, and all of a sudden I went to wipe, and I see the little sack where the baby was, and like my vision I remember it just like tunneling outward, and like someone's knocking on the door at the same time trying to get in the bathroom. And I just completely panicked, and I was just like, what is happening? And this is too graphic. I don't really care. I could not, I'm sure there's many people that have gone through this. I couldn't sit there and throw the baby in the toilet. I couldn't, I don't have that in me.
Yeah.
So we ended up, giving the baby a little site in our backyard. So yeah. That was kind of like a piece. I put a little note in, we had like a little time capsule.
Because I don't know if everyone always feels that, but when you texted me and you were like, I'm freaking out, I'm at, this place, and I'm just like, this is such a weird feeling, because you were like, I felt that like innate need to push. Like, I feel like I'm supposed to be birthing my baby right now. And I was like, coming from a natural home birth, like, and knowing that feeling. And then I'm like, I'm listening to you, and I'm like, holy shit, I know what she's saying. I know what I'm feeling. And I was like, I just like wanted to, like, I was so sad that I like I didn't know what to say. Again, I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like, holy shit, I forgot that part has to exist too. Like, you have to, your body has to
You're like
flush
through birth. Like, it's a small birth. It's not, it's obviously intense, but like your hormones, everything are going through that. And like, the worst part was like, if I had driven to the restaurant, or if I had taken an Uber to the restaurant, I would have just jumped in the Uber and gone, but we took the boat. So like, and we had people with us on the boat. We had family, my friend's family in town. And
so you're like holding all this emotion in.
I literally went up to Justin. I'm like, I'm traumatized right now. I'm going through it. I'm not okay. Like, and honestly, guys, I had a bushwhacker at this point, so I'm feeling a little bit good. I stopped drinking because I was like, I don't want to feel anything. I don't want it to mess with me. I don't want it to give me more anxiety. So, yeah. It just was a lot. And then, and I felt, I don't know, it's weird. It's like, I think I really had compartmentalized and kind of moved on until like right now. But I mean, I've just been looking forward. I'm looking forward to the next journey. I'm not even going to say hopefully. I'm going to say when I have another child, and we're going to start right away. Jamie told me, she's like, I know a lot of OBs will tell you need to wait a month or two. Like, you can start as soon as you know you're ovulating, as soon as you have a period, whatever. Yeah. So, I mean, we're not going to stop.
Yeah. But I would say, like, after, you're like your friend who was very public about her stillbirth and what she went through as well. Yeah. And like, my sister, like, mentally make sure you're there. Obviously physically that's you want, because you want that healthy pregnancy. Yeah. But like mentally, I think it's so important to process it. And I think about, like still like your friend, and like like the visual of coming home without that baby, and then going through postpartum. And like, that was the first time I started looking up like postpartum doulas, like someone to just be there for you, because your body is still going through this hormonal shift as if you had a normal, like you went through pregnancy 100%, right? Like you had the healthy baby. And like just that mindset, outside of just like watching other people be pregnant, like your body literally has to heal.
Yeah.
But it doesn't feel like, it doesn't feel like that, because you're like, there's nothing, I'm not holding anything.
Not holding anything, but like you're still, wait, not for
when
me.
She posted that sent me through the edge, because I was like, because it's almost like you run a race, you expect to get a trophy. Yeah. You go through pregnancy, you expect to have this baby.
She's sitting there producing milk, like.
And then when it doesn't happen, you're like, and then people forget, right? You move on, because with a baby, you're like, oh, I'm in my postpartum month. I get my 3 months of healing. Like I'm watching this baby grow, and I can what's what's the word I'm looking for? Like you're seeing time happen. Yes. As opposed to this, when I'm like, God, how long ago was that? Not like are you over it, but just like, how much time have you given yourself to really heal? Yeah. I
almost feel like, people deal with things in different ways. I think a lot of people will sit there and really sit in it for, a long period of time, or certain things will trigger them. And I think also another point is like, there's a I think there's a very different reaction or a very different like way that you cope with things when it's your first baby. Like if you have a baby, it's your first baby and you don't know like coming out of it, like number one, if you're ever going to have a kid, that's a whole nother emotion that I fortunately did not have to go through. But someone also, I think it was actually my friend who had the stillbirth sister, she said, yeah, but then having a miscarriage when you've already had one, you know the full picture, you know how amazing it is. So it's really hard. So there's space for both, obviously. And it's just like,
and though I didn't have a miscarriage, I did have a couple of issues with conceiving in the beginning, like it wasn't happening fast enough. I remember the guilt of feeling like, why can't I just be happy? Like with River, like I would think that there would be a part of me that's like, you know, you're laying down, you're not feeling good, and your toddler still needs you, you know? So like you're almost having to compartmentalize it faster than you know, each is his own circle of hell. But you know, I think about it with like freshly the postpartum lifestyle, like literally baby 2 made me think about like, how do we support the woman? Like, how come she gets overlooked so much? And even like outside of just postpartum, like having the baby, like postpartum death. Like, if it is coming to be that it's a much more common occurrence now that women are experiencing at some point a miscarriage or a stillbirth, like, where is that support? You know?
You know what? There isn't much. Because what I saw her go through, it was mostly family and friends. And like, I think the hospital sent her like a nice little care package or something at the end. There's a couple other foundations that were started by other mothers that went through a stillbirth that I helped her to sign up for. But like, there isn't. Like, I don't know if she's like doing it. Again, we're going to have her on the podcast so we can ask her all this. But like, I didn't really see much. Like stuff that you don't have to sit there and pay for. Obviously, there's therapy that you can go through, but like something that just, hey, like this is paid for by the state, or we provide this for you, or something that's affordable, or some kind of program. I don't know if it exists, and if it does, and I'm missing something, like please comment on it or let us know, because that's a great resource to have, and I wish that I had it, and even to give to her.
Because there's so many levels of it too. Like we know someone who's had 7 miscarriages, 2 of them were ectopic. You know, I have another one of my good friends that went through an ectopic, and we you know, and that's like it's such a spiral because it's one, you're worried about the baby before you know you're miscarrying, you're worried about the health of this baby, and then when the tragedy strikes, you're basically mourning both. Your body has to physically mourn and get flush and deal with it, and then you're mourning the loss of a child, and it's a lot. It's a lot. So I'm sorry.
It's okay. I mean, it's not okay, but it's okay. You know.
Yeah.
It's just we're moving forward, and it's part of life, and it's God's plan. I mean, like, gosh, I hate saying this. I was just talking to the girl that by the way, I did therapy by getting a spray tan and completely changing my hair. So the girl that does or the woman that does my spray tans, Kayla, shout out. We were just talking about this last night. I think she had 2 or 3, and she was just like, I just have to like give it to God, and just it was in his hands. Like there's something that just wasn't right. Like maybe the baby wasn't okay, and like, you know, God decided that maybe it was something that I couldn't handle, or the baby wouldn't have been okay later on, and to not go through that pain, it was easier to go through this pain now. So that, I mean, that's something that you think about too when you go through this. I know it's not.
I hate to think of it that way, though.
I hate to think of it that way too, but it's somewhat comforting when you're going through this, to be honest with you. Like, it's just like, okay, it's in God's hands. Like, God doesn't make mistakes, you know, and something that I don't know about, he's in control. So I don't know. And also in a weird way, it also gives me comfort that everyone or most people go through this. Like, it's 1 in 4, and it's not talked about enough. We hear 1 in 4 all the time, but like women aren't talking about this. Like, and it's happening all the time. And I think another thing too, and this is something that I had heard before having this miscarriage, and you know, I think we're also hearing about these miscarriages because back like in the 80s, they didn't have these, you know, 7 days before a missed period test. Like, you had to wait until you were at least like 12 weeks pregnant to know that you were pregnant. And so a lot of people were getting pregnant, not knowing they were pregnant, probably having like a really heavy period and just being like, okay, like not even knowing. So I feel like those statistics have gone up because we're finding out so much earlier. I think it's in a book that I read, Expecting Better.
Also, you have to remember that generation doesn't talk about anything. Like my mom doesn't, like I didn't know that like my mom went through some of the things that she did until like I forced her to talk to me about it. Like our generation has podcasts and social media too. So like it feels like there's more, like we're just starting to get to the age. Like I don't feel like when you say it's not talked about enough, like I don't feel like you're saying it as in like there's shame and we're not talking about, like our generation does not feel that shame.
No.
But there's no resources out there because generations before us either didn't have the knowledge of it or they didn't talk about it for whatever reason.
You said that. I literally, my mom, I just picked her up from the airport right before coming here and dropped her off at the house. I'm on the phone with my dad. My mom's in the back seat. And I'm like, okay, guys, I'm going to go talk about the miscarriage. They're like, on the podcast? I'm like, yes, on the podcast. They're like, oh, okay. And I'm like, yeah, our generation's weird. We just talk about everything. And my mom, after I got out of the car, hung up with my dad. She's like, I think it's good. Like, I think it's good that you guys do that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, just as much as I feel like social media becomes this, you know, we were talking about it in the beginning of like with content creators, it's sometimes a super highlight. Like I think the reason why I continue to like strive in the content world is because like these are the places that I felt like I needed. You know, like I want to hear when people go through these things because like not to see you cry makes me feel good, but it just makes me like it's human. Like we go through loss. Like these things happen, life gets and it's not always like, you know, Pinterest gardens and kitchens and fun things with the children. Like there are tragedies in our life that we need to talk about. And even if there's nothing that comes out of it, like, you know, something learned, it's just listening and relating and being like, if you've had this there, I'm with you. I see you.
Yeah.
You know? So I'm
100%.
I'm like thankful that you chose to share it here.
Yeah.
You know?
So it actually felt really good to get out.
Good.
I guess I had some.
I'll take $20 for the session.
I think I need to go do some NET to like really get it out.
Oh yeah, I can't wait to talk. That was where I was going to go through. I feel like this season we decided to get a little deeper.
Yeah, I was going to say we should talk about what we expect this season too. So we're going to get a little deeper, probably a little bit more heavy, and especially in the beginning. I think we have it slated to get a little heavy. Starting with this episode.
Yeah.
So there might be more tears on the following episodes, but I'm excited about this season's lineup. I think we decided to have a longer season too. We have the surprise of a new studio too.
Yeah. So I'm excited about that.
More consistent content coming out, which is really, really exciting. So
yeah.
And
that's the truth.
And that's the truth.
So, I guess what do we say? How do we end this? We're like,
I don't know. It's really hard to like end things.
I know, but I feel like I just want to like give you a hug because I love you.
I love you too. This is
why are we shaking hands? See you guys next week. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to Truth Moms. Remember, mamas, the truth starts at home. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. It really helps us reach more moms like you, and plus, it's free.
Until next time, stay strong, stay curious, and we will keep dropping those truth bombs. Bye.